to me. But by that time, I was not going to question the Blizzard. I mean, we'd already had 2 products, each which went #1. That wasn't a coincidence.
With Warcraft 2, we offered network play, and what happened was people wanted to be able to play it over the internet, but we hadn't actually provided facilities for that. So with Diablo, we decided that we should be providing that matchmaking functionality, and that was really where the original idea for Battle.net came from.
We always talked about one-button access. We wanted to be able to just push one button and be playing with your friends, and to be simple, and to not have to enter IP addresses and all kinds of stuff like that.
A really easy way for people to find each other and share the gaming experiences that they wanted to play together.
For us, it was a no-brainer because every day after work, and during work, we'd be playing either Samurai Showdown or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, and there was just no more satisfying a feeling than whooping your friend versus whooping a computer AI.
One of my claims to fame is I actually defeated Roman Kenny in Street Fighter 2 using my feet. And I would also make sure that after that game, anyone else who wanted to play me played with the foot controller. So they got my funk on their hands, and they were kind of playing like, And so I would defeat them too. Defeat. Look at that.
So we had done Warcraft 2, and we were going to start working on a space-based RTS game.
What geek amongst us, didn't grow up wanting to work on Star Wars? So StarCraft was an opportunity to, dig out a different kind of space opera.
Yeah, it was just a whole bunch of us just throwing crazy ideas around until ultimately you had the Zerg and the Protoss, and the cinematics department was just getting up off the ground.
We knew we wanted to make cinematics. Thing was, there really was not a fleshed out story for the game yet. What we decided to do was create some pieces that could be used in a variety of ways.
Matt and Dwayne had already started working on the intro and things like that, and doing pieces that they thought was going to really sell the Terrans as rednecks.
What you got for me out there, Joey Ray?
We hit pay dirt this time for sure.
We went through the sort of idea of, hey, why don't we put orcs in space and have it be orcs and humans except set in space? That was actually an idea we thought about.
We had just taken the Warcraft 2 engine and created some new art, almost basically skinned Warcraft 2 for a science fiction theme.
Brought it to a consumer electronics show and showed it off, and everybody goes, oh yeah, orcs in space. Like, no, it's not orcs in space.
It turns out at the time we were very proud of it, but by the time the end of the show rolled around, we were actually, I think, a little bit embarrassed.
And really got our asses kicked. We saw what everybody else was doing, and we realized very quickly that we had to change it.
About a year into it, we completely scrapped the art and switched to a more advanced sort of isometric perspective, and it really took on a nice, clean, advanced look.
I said, all right, give me a couple weeks, month, something like that. I'll do a whole new engine. Just lock me in a dark room. When I come out of the dark room, I'll have a new engine, and you can use that, make StarCraft. So that's what I did.
Every day for a month leading up to December, I said, at midnight to all 50 of us who were still there working 7 days a week, don't worry, we're in the home stretch. Of course, we were nowhere near the home stretch.
We thought we were going to ship that game in 1997. Maybe even earlier than that if you think of when we started doing the Orcs in Space version.
For the team, the crunch lasted for about 8 months.
He kept telling us we were in the home stretch and we were days away. Well, months were passing, and he kept telling us the same thing, and for some reason we kept buying it.
It didn't come out, I think, until April.
But honestly, I look back on it rather fondly.
I took off maybe 18 hours because that's how long it took for Garrett to be born. Garrett's my son.
I have this feeling, that entire team was kind of in the zone.
My wife slept on the couch while I laid my son, 3 days old, on a towel on my desk next to my keyboard.
Really productive, really effective, doing a lot of great work, knowing we were working on something really important.
I'm sitting there, here, have a bottle. Just keep on working.
And that was, that was family time at Blizzard in the early days.
That's how I dealt with family and crunch.
It was just a really important project, something we could be proud of. When we first started working on World of Warcraft, it really was sort of the natural evolution of things.
At the point that we decided to really do it, we were, already knee-deep in the development of Warcraft 3.
We kind of envisioned one day we would want to bring the universe of Warcraft to life in sort of a persistent universe game that you could be an individual character within this living, breathing world.
It was a very organic thing to look at the world that was taking shape in terms of the Warcraft 3 product and really translating those ideas to a much more open-ended, real-time world. So in many ways, they were kind of co-developed.
The team got behind it, and we started to, figure out, well, how do we want to build this MMO? What do we want to do different? We wanted something that was a little more faster-paced action, less grind involved, so that you're not sitting around waiting.
I remember when we first started on World of Warcraft, and it was this vast, rich, colorful world. And so to sit down and play it and be really immersed in it and to find it so compelling, it definitely felt like something that was special.
The first creature we made was called a furbog. You would kill these furbogs, and they would drop a nipple ring, which was one of their treasures.
The early development of WoW was awesome. The team was pretty amazing. I remember for probably the first month that I joined, they called me FNG, and I was so happy when we hired the next guy after me, and I no longer had to be FNG.
By the time we put out the original WoW, it was just one of those game worlds that really knew what it was. And I think that was part of the vibe that people experienced when they jumped into the product. They just felt like, just every rock feels like it's placed with love and care.
Typically in game development, when you put a placeholder model in, you put like just a checkerboarded box. It's obvious that this is not the right model. Well, somebody had the bright idea that if they took a picture of me and put it on that cube, that would be better, because then obviously I would see that, and it would encourage me to get the artist to fix that piece of artwork. And so the first bug we got in our alpha was, why is Billy Joel looking at me? And why is Paunch from Chips on my shoulder or whatever? His shoulder pad was missing, and so there was a cube of me on his shoulder. Yeah, that's the story of the Shane Cube.
We can make our orcs into heroes. We can have goblins flying around on jetpacks. I mean, it's a big, goofy, free universe of infinite possibility.
By the end of the project, we had 60 people on the team, and it took us 5 years to make.
We crunched a lot. The team crunched much longer than we probably should have.
Because it was pretty harsh. We crunched for like 2 years at the end there.
But I think we all felt like not only how we poured blood, sweat, and tears into the game, but it was as great as it possibly could be.
World of Warcraft really has taken on a life of its own in terms of the scope and scale and the size of the community.
But nobody really appreciated how transformational that game would be to the organization in terms of what it took to operate a game like that.
There's just countless things that we had to learn and that we never had experienced really at this scale prior to launching WoW. It's been a life changer and a company changer, a game changer, an industry changer.
I mean, we had capacity plans for the first year for World of Warcraft of somewhere in the neighborhood of 400,000 in North America, and we blew through that capacity in the first month.
We had to actually stop shipping boxes multiple times to retail during the first year because we didn't have the capacity to support the players.
And so there was this mad scramble to try to get more equipment and try to make sure that the experience for the users were really well. So it was nothing that we could have even fathomed to, plan for ahead of time.
Every single department was affected when we launched World of Warcraft and had to deal with the massive amount of success, the number of players that came in. And so we really had to scale up the entire business.
And we were frantically trying to ship patches for the game with an understaffed development team. And I remember some of the first people to join Team 2 were some of the most inspirational people to get on the team because they so loved what we were doing. That's when J. Allen Brack joined the team.
I was brought in to be the senior producer for the art team. Been a huge fan of Blizzard for all the way since back in the Warcraft 1 days. Played a lot of multiplayer Warcraft 1, a lot of Warcraft 2.
There was such energy that these people were bringing. They kind of brought the message with them. Do you guys realize how awesome the game you made is? I feel like all of the new talent brought life back to WoW after we were sitting there licking our wounds after the rough launch.
even back then, even when we blew through our capacity in the first month for our first year, I don't think that any of us had any idea that we would be hitting the 1 million active player mark, the 2 million active player mark, the 5 million active player mark, and then to have surpassed a 10 million active player mark was far and away beyond, I think, almost everyone's expectations.
The lore story of Adham saying, one day this game will have 1 million subscribers, and everyone just, that'll never happen. If there's anything that we've learned in our time here, it's that we're not great at predicting the future.
I really have to hand it to the people who helped us build that game into the game that it is today, because it really took a lot of hard work, it took a lot of commitment, and it just didn't happen by accident. It happened because the people here at Blizzard made that happen.
I think it shocked and surprised people. It changed the way people thought of things. It changed the social aspects of gaming and took it to an entirely different level. I think we've done something that is going to be hard to match, and I think candidly will potentially only be matched by our next big MMO.
Hey, my name's Chris Siggety. I'm production director on StarCraft 2. My first job here was in QA. I was actually going to college at the time, wanted a summer job, and what brought me to Blizzard was gaming. So StarCraft 2 was a huge undertaking, and the first step in it was figuring out that we wanted to do StarCraft 2.
It took 12 years between the time we released the first StarCraft and got around to start delivering StarCraft 2.
Oh yeah, when did we start on StarCraft? What was it, 7 years ago? What, 7?
What I remember about it is the leadership at that time sat around and decided, yes, we're going to make StarCraft 2, and I still think I have this document, which was, okay, we're going to make StarCraft 2. What is StarCraft 2? StarCraft 2 is going to hearken to the legacy. It's going to largely feel like and play like the original game in 3D, of course. And then we're going to do something really cool with single player, and we're going to do something really cool with the online service.
You know, storytelling is a really important component of all the games that we make also. With StarCraft 2, we recognized that that was going to be important, and we really built on that whole flexible storytelling experience.
The team is fantastic. We've got really a very strong personality helping lead the team, which is Sammy, and he's got just such a great ability to influence people in a very positive manner.
You had to have a real dedication to rise up before the crack of noon and show yourselves, and that's difficult. As you all know, all artists are designers, so we can also design our own games. But we have designers here now to help us out.
Well, I started out, working for Rob Pardo on StarCraft, and we did, stuff on units and structures. We got to work on missions and this sort of thing, and then I got a chance to sort of take over more of a leadership role on StarCraft 2, and we hired a bunch of guys, put together a balanced team, and really started trying to put the game together.
I wrote the AI for everything, actually. StarCraft 1, a lot of 2. I've always been looking for ways to make the computer not cheat. In StarCraft 2, we've completely eliminated all forms of cheating, all forms of effective cheating. You cannot tell the difference between a human and the computer anymore.
We were trying to remake this classic game that we've all been playing, off and on for 10 different years now, and I think there was a lot of legitimate fear and dread on the development team that we could accomplish this task, that we could actually make a game that was hopefully worthy of the StarCraft name. One of the best PC games of all time, probably the best strategy game of all time.
When we started on StarCraft and released it, I think everybody knew it was a fun game and had high hopes for it.
I'm really proud of what we delivered from a storytelling experience for StarCraft 2. And, the multiplayer experience is awesome as well, and the Battle.net experience is awesome as well.
To see how far StarCraft went was really incredible.
Blizzard is turning 20 years old, and at this point in a company's history, you really start looking at not only what's come in the past, but what is going to be Blizzard's legacy.
The future is big.
20 years is a long time, but I think we want Blizzard to persist long after the leadership that's currently in charge is gone. And, if you look at a company like Disney as an example, Disney's been around for 80 years.
20 years in, they haven't even invented half their best films or haven't even done Disneyland yet. So you think about from that standpoint, I think that our best days are still ahead of us, and we still have our golden age ahead of us.
Our goal to be a company that does the most incredible gaming experiences, that develops those and creates those, is something that's part of our DNA that we're going to continue with for a long time to come.
Things weren't always the way they are now. Actually, things